Hi, this is Glenn at SwitchUp, today reviewing Wild Guns Reloaded for Nintendo Switch. This is a remastered version of a bit of a cult classic released for the Super Nintendo over 20 years ago now, but have the years been kind, and does this reloaded version warrant a place in your Switch collection? Let's find out. Wild Guns is a gallery shooter, but with a third-person perspective as opposed to the more regularly seen first-person for these sorts of games. It tells a story of revenge, with one of the protagonists, Annie's, family being gunned down. She hires bounty hunter Clint to assist her, and there are two new characters here for the ride in this reloaded version, but more on that later. The graphics in Wild Guns Reloaded are pretty much as they were for the original game back in 1994, and this is absolutely fine by me. There is something about 16-bit sprite work that ages so gracefully. The colours are vibrant and the settings are full of detail in this Wild West steampunk universe. There is definitely a science fiction vibe present in this game, and this level in particular encapsulates this. It's almost as if cowboys have colonised the moon. From the early evening moon rising into the sky above the local saloon, to the gargantuan first level boss throwing trucks, even down to the little details like Clint's hat and poncho blowing in the breeze, this game looks to business. Some new stages, bosses and power-ups have also been added to this edition. This graphical style looks as good today as it did 24 years ago, and graphics get 17 out of 20. Music in Wild Guns Reloaded is high octane and sets the mood nicely. You can hear that classic and unmistakable Wild West twang to each song, but it also keeps things fresh and new at the same time. It really fits the gameplay well and complements the fast action. The sound effects are appropriate and again add to the atmosphere, and music gets 17 out of 20. The game is split into various screens and you need to take down a host of enemies who are shooting at you from every conceivable angle until the final enemy of the screen shows up. Take them down and it's on to the next screen to do it all again. Each level is generally made up of 2 screens and then a main boss battle, and these are quite a sight to behold. As mentioned earlier, in this reloaded version there are 4 playable characters. You have Clint and Annie from the original Super Nintendo version, and they play very similarly to each other, with a standard gun as a starter weapon, as well as newcomers Doris, a big and brawny lady who lobs bombs, or Bullet, a dog, yes, a dog, with a robot companion who has a lock-on sight for its weapon. You can obtain stronger weapons whilst playing by shooting the gun icons that appear on screen, and you also have a screen clearing special move available to you. You start with 3 of these and can obtain more as you progress. You also have a lasso move that incapacitates an enemy for a short while. If you are anything like me, your first playthrough of Wild Guns Reloaded will be over very quickly. There is so much on screen, and having to move both your character and your crosshair will seem a little overwhelming at first. But if you are really like me, you will instantly have another go, and an hour later you will be getting through screens that seemed impossible a short while ago without being hit. You will then try the next screen, get annihilated and try again. There is a certain nuance to this game that is not obvious on your first couple of tries. It's all about learning when to jump and when to roll, or when to attempt to shoot your enemy's bullets out of the sky, which then builds a power meter that makes your attack stronger. The game has online leaderboards for all difficulty settings apart from beginner, as well as for both single and multiplayer. It will only save your score though as long as you do not continue, which is understandable. It also has up to 4-player local co-op. Strangely though, when playing in multiplayer you cannot choose a difficulty setting and also get no continues. This is a strange decision, as it could have offered continues just like in single player, but just advised you that continuing would mean that your score would not be eligible for online leaderboards. This game is brutally hard but strangely addicting, and the masochist in you will not be able to stop. Gameplay gets 18 out of 20. The game controls by using your left stick to move both your character and your crosshair. Once you start to fire however, your character will stop in place and just your crosshair will move. Holding down the Y button will fire your gun, and tapping it will throw your lasso, which, as mentioned earlier, temporarily incapacitates an enemy. I found it a little awkward having both of these commands tied to the same button, especially when I picked up a weapon upgrade with limited ammo. Here I wanted to conserve ammo and just pop shots off by tapping the fire button, but this meant I threw the lasso. Perhaps this was just me, but I would have preferred having the lasso mechanic assigned to one of the shoulder buttons. Pressing B makes your character jump, and pressing B whilst firing makes your character roll. The X button uses your character's special moves. Some characters control slightly differently. For example, Doris, who uses the bombs, will build up the number of bombs she throws at once to a maximum of 3 by holding down the fire button. There is also no option to use the Joy-Con as a light gun by pointing at the screen, which almost seemed like a given with this type of game. I assumed you would use the left Joy-Con stick to move and the right Joy-Con to point, but there is no such feature. What this does mean though is that you only need one Joy-Con to play, so multiplayer does not need as many controllers. The controls are very responsive. Walking and aiming takes some getting used to, but the controls do not hinder this and they receive 15 out of 20. Value is a difficult section to score. The game sells for £26.99 or $29.99 on the Nintendo eShop. There is also a physical version available in America, but not in Europe at this present time. It's worth noting that the original Super Nintendo game goes for an absolute bundle these days, although it is also available on the Wii and Wii U virtual consoles for a fraction of the price. But this review isn't for those versions, and this one does add a few new features in for the price that you pay. The main one being that it has increased the number of players from 2 to 4, albeit local only and not online. There are also the 2 new characters that play very differently to Annie and Clint, as well as online leaderboards, new levels and bosses, and a boss rush mode to be unlocked. There is a fair amount of content here, and the game is very difficult even on the lowest setting. The beginner setting gives you unlimited lives, so there is a way to see the game through to the end if the difficulty gets the better of you. Personally, I imported the physical version of this game for only a couple of pounds more than the digital version sells for, and from what I've heard, the physical version is quite hard to come by already. I feel that the game is a little overpriced in its digital form, but this is not a knock against the quality of the game, and high score chasers will be playing this game for years to come. Value gets 13 out of 20. To conclude, Wild Guns Reloaded is a fast-paced, high-action game that feels as fun to play today as it did back in the 90s. It is a delight to look at and listen to, and the gameplay will start to feel like second nature once you put some time into it. You will need to put the aforementioned time in to truly get the best from this package, as the game is brutally difficult, but the high score nature will see you pressing continue once your frustration at another failed attempt has subsided. I feel that £18 or $20 would have been the sweet spot with regards to price, but once you've stumped up the extra money and you are enjoying the game, you'll probably forget about the extra few pounds you paid anyway. I would strongly recommend searching out the physical copy if you can to give you that extra value for money. It's great to see such a cult classic being given a new lease of life for a new generation to enjoy, and Wild Guns Reloaded receives a SwitchUp score of 80%. Thank you for watching everyone. Please remember to like the video if you liked what you saw and heard, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing for all things Switch all the time. Happy gaming.